Hello, hello, hello. Hey everyone, Jonathan David here, just waiting for a few people to get on. Let's see. All right, Jorge. Jorge is going to be on in a second here.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
are you there?
I'm here.
Okay,
You hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome
Perfect.
back, Jorge.
Oh, welcome back. We were waiting for you.
A little bit of traffic today, ran a little bit late.
Did you have a snack?
Nope.
Ooh. Do they know how you are when you're hungry?
They're going to
Okay,
see.
just a quick story. A quick story. Everybody know we met Groomer Hasset
Okay.
20 years ago. Oh, by the way, I was waiting. I had a gummy. So we were waiting, 20 years ago. Groomer Hasset, we met first morning. I'm a ball of energy. I get up and I start talking until I don't know what else to say. Okay, this one, the first reality check. You can't say a word in the morning. It's evil. It's
I
like food.
need to wake up. I need time to wake up.
But nothing. I'm like, yes, you need carbs to function. I never seen in my life somebody so
bitchy in the morning.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I'm like, yes, horrible. So now when I go and I stay at his house, let me tell you, in the morning you have to ignore him like he is a subway rat because yes.
Okay.
So why do I look so yellow?
I don't know. It's your lighting.
I know.
The wrong foundation.
Okay. I know. Well, let me see. Let me look at you without glam. Because I noticed last week, I was looking back and I'm like, he took his time and he has Freddie there probably fixing lights. And I am here like
I have no
sweating it
lights.
out.
No, I just have my regular light in here.
No. You
Look,
don't. You have a ring light.
That's it.
You have another light.
You want me to flip the camera around and show you?
I believe you, but
I just look this good. Okay, everybody, we've got a bunch of people in here now. We're just like, BSing in here. We're old friends, it's old hat to us. But anyway, so let's do a little catch up before we get into our part 2 of mobile grooming versus house call grooming. Let's do a little catch up. I was away this weekend. I went on a little weekend getaway, a little cruise to get away, and little time to ourselves. But while I was away, there was all this drama unfolding in the grooming industry.
I know.
So in case you haven't heard, we'll just touch on it because I had to put in my 2 cents because that's me. But, we just like to talk about current events that are going on in the grooming industry. And I'm sure you've seen the posts on Facebook. And those of you that are watching, maybe you have or have not seen this, but there's this buzz going on about this article which was written about contest groomers buying Bedlington Terriers. And basically, the long and short of the drama going on is the president of the Bedlington Terrier Club of America wrote an article for the AKC Gazette. And the article's angle, I think, is what groomers really have an issue with. But the premise of the article is about how Bedlington Terriers have become very popular in the grooming competition ring. And so a lot of grooming competitors are buying Bedlington Terriers and they are requesting from the breeders to choose a puppy for them that has a thicker, softer coat that is a little bit better for scissoring so that they can use them in grooming competitions. And the article was about basically how the future of the breed is in jeopardy because contest groomers are requesting these poodle coated Bedlingtons, and that's not the correct coat for them. And so the article was about how the breed preservation, should be bred true, and you should have, you should be breeding to the standard and preserve the breeds. But the way it was written and the way it came off was basically, it seemed, at least this is how I received it, and a lot of other people did, and there's been an argument because some people don't agree, but the way I read the article was that it seemed like they were putting all this blame for bad breeding on grooming competitors who are requesting these soft-coated Bedlingtons. And so I put my 2 cents into the conversation, and I said, why is this person writing this article basically shifting the blame on these competitive groomers? If this is the president of the breed club, why aren't they going to their breeders and saying, hey, you guys are not breeding to the standard? If you get a dog in the litter, a puppy in your litter that has a soft coat or that's got a thicker coat, and it would be a great dog for grooming competitions, that's the dog that should go to the grooming competitor. I don't think any breeder is going to shift their entire breeding program to accommodate a handful of grooming competitors. The article's premise was ridiculous, in my opinion. Have you read the article?
Kind of.
You read,
I'm glad that I
like,
knew I was going to ask you to explain it to me. I did read it, and I was like, yeah, but I always experience, since I started on the conformation ring, showing Pekingese, Afghans, Chihuahuas, and stuff, and then here Pomeranians. I always saw kind of like we never like when you talk to breeders, and that you wanted it to like show it in grooming competition. Like, remember you actually groomed my dog for a grooming competition back in the days, remember?
Intergroom, yeah, your Pomeranian.
Correct. And you did well.
I got the class.
Exactly. And I love, and I learn, I look at the trim, and I was like, oh, this is so perfect. When I replicated to the show ring, I was read by, because they have a different, it wasn't about coat quality, it was more about styling,
right?
Differences about profiles that is questionable too, because I'm like, a good judge has to touch the dog. You cannot fool a good judge with a good grooming. On a picture you can fix anything,
right?
Understand. But a good groomer, a good judge will know. And years ago, I remember it was a talk in Argentina, because dog breeders and handlers were so, I wouldn't say vicious, but so protective of the top knot of poodles and Shih Tzus that judges were afraid to go and touch the dogs properly. It was a whole thing. Like, handlers will get upset if the judge did their job. And it was because through grooming, you can, you can have an illusion that the proportions are different, or the head is rounded, or the head, So I always remember back in the, I would say, 80s, that we had that problem. Remember when Shih Tzus went from regular ponytail on top to the magnificent drag queen looking, dogs that we see today? It was the same. So I don't know. They see things. And listen, dog breeders should learn how to groom their dogs properly, because that's the difference. When you see in the ring a competitor that is a groomer, and when you see a breeder, I'm like, okay, you need to learn how to. Somebody say you need to learn how to wash the dog properly.
Well, You know, the funny thing is when we do the grooming competitions, we're supposed to be emulating what's carried over from the show ring. But if you go to a dog show, and many of the groomers who go to the trade shows do go to dog shows, if you go to the dog shows, sometimes you see dogs being shown and placing, and they don't actually have the proper trim as we know it, you know? And you might think to yourself, well, why is that dog winning? It's because that dog, underneath all that hair, the judge in the confirmation ring is really judging the movement, the structure, the balance of the dog's body, not the hair. The hair is there to aid in that, and you can hide faults with hair. You can bring out the best attributes of the dog by styling the hair a certain way. But I think in this instance, what has really rubbed groomers the wrong way and what has really created a controversy is, instead of it being an article about breeding for proper coat, it pointed as groomers as the catalyst for this issue. And that's just not true.
But let me ask you, who has more entries? Who, when you go to a dog show, how many, confirmation dog show, how many, dogs of that breed?
So that's it's funny you say that, because you didn't read the article, but that was the base of the article. The reason why this article was written is because there was a dog show, a confirmation show, and at the same show they do a grooming event as well. And there were only 3 Bedlingtons entered, if I recall from the article correctly. It was only like 3 dogs entered in the actual confirmation show, but there were 8 or something, 6 or 8 in the actual grooming competition. So the idea was that the breed is not being shown prolifically, but it is being used in grooming competitions prolifically. So the idea was, are people breeding the dogs for the show ring, or are they breeding their dogs for the grooming competition ring? And the idea that somehow, because of an interest from a few competitors, that an entire breed is going to shift their coat texture to accommodate, a handful of competitors, it's just preposterous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The idea is
it's ridiculous. And the thing is, like, if you know about breeding, out of a full litter, you might get, you get 1 or 2 dogs that they will be what you're looking for, one ring, and then you have the rest of the litter that before they used to just disappear on the pet lands. You will never see them again. Now, because the not such a great coat are becoming stars, I think they're like just looking to blame, because now you have gorgeous dogs that you look at their profile and they're beautiful, and they might don't have exactly, but they're getting more recognition than the one probably that is just dragged around on the ring by a grumpy old breeder.
But so, doesn't that happen in all breeds? If you look at breeds, certain breeds that were around in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and compare them to the same breed today, some breeds are very standard and they stay the same. But a lot of coated breeds have been bred to be a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more profuse, like Springer Spaniels. If you look at an American Springer Spaniel and an actual English Springer Spaniel from England, they are a different dog. The working field Springer Spaniels in England don't have coat. They have no undercoat. Not undercoat. They have no bottom coat. They have no furnishings. It's all very short naturally, because they're working the field. With the Springers we have today, if they were working the field with all that dripping coat, they'd be picking up everything, right? So it's just, everything changes. I just think in this instance, it was the blame was put in the wrong place. So that's the drama that's going on right now. So if you haven't picked up on that, just go to like Pro Groomer Network or any of the grooming groups and search Bedlington Terrier, and you're going to see the controversy about it. But let's pick back up with mobile grooming versus house call grooming, because we went on and on and on last week, and an hour went by and we really had barely scratched the surface. So this time I asked some people to send me some questions, and I got a few questions. And if you guys watching have any questions, drop them right there in the comments. But
and then I like during the next couple of days, I see you answering some and I answer another. So if now we don't catch it, I will be sure to look it up on the comments if I don't catch it now.
So the first question that I got was someone asked, they said that they have a mobile business, they're just starting out, and they're struggling with pricing. They don't want to know what they should charge. They're struggling with, how do you structure your pricing? How do you come up with what is an appropriate price for your business in your area? And then how do you draw the right clientele that's willing to pay whatever, if you have, higher prices or something. So, to start that out, basically, the basic formula, and then you can elaborate on this, the basic formula that anybody has to do with any business, especially a mobile business, is you have to tally up what your costs every month are going to be, and then what your happy salary is going to be, right? What money do you need to pay yourself to be happy and be satisfied with living? Give me 1 second.
He went for a snack.
No, my cat was scratching at the door to get out. Okay, so basically what you have to do is add up all of your operating costs, your salary, and all of those hidden expenses, like your accountant every year. If you have, once a year, if you have to do maintenance on your grooming van or something like that, I just got hit. I just picked up my van this morning from being in the shop for 5 days, and it was a $3,000, bill, because it's out of warranty now. So factor in, extra money for your repairs and costs. So then when you have that total amount, you've got that number. Let's just say, every month your operating costs are $5,000, and your salary for that month, your happy number is, say, $5,000. And then you want to account for about $1,000 every month for hidden expenses. So you figure that comes out to $11,000. So you have $11,000 that you have to make to meet all of your needs. Everything else is a bonus, right? So you have to divide 11,000 by how many days a week, how many days that month you're going to work. So you've got, let's say, 20 days in the month that you're going to work. So you've got now 11,000 divided by 20 days. Then you know what your number is that you have to make each day to survive. So then you have to look at how many dogs can you do in a day, and you divide that number of what you have to do in each day by how many dogs. And that's how you get a baseline of what your prices, where they kind of need to be. And then, of course, you kind of wiggle it from there, higher or lower, or you add on for this if you do little in-between rooms. So, that's when you have a mobile van, your operating costs are going to be a little bit higher. Now, your house costs. Yeah. So how do you factor those costs in?
Well, basically, the same. I know how much money I want to make. That's where I start. Okay. I'm like, if I'm not happy, nobody's happy. So I know exactly how much I want to make, and then how many dogs I need to make every week. My expenses are very, very low. Okay. It's a backpack. I have just what I use.
Keep talking. I'm listening. Keep talking.
Yeah. So I know what I use, and the shampoo and the I do dry cleaning for everything because I live in the city and I don't have a washer machine at home. So so mine is easier. And how do you get to the clients that you want? It's just sticking to it. It's just like that. I'm like, I have my rate, and I hardly ever move from it because sometimes I feel like, well, maybe I like the dog, I want to charge, but then I remember that I will definitely regret it. So, you check the competition. You want to have an idea what everybody else charge, and then you find your sweet spot. But it's over here. I'm back. It's back. So so to me it's kind of easier. And about finding the right clients, it's just sticking to it. It's just knowing that the dog that walks on the leash is your biggest advertising. So I try to move in circles where I know people will have a lot of dogs. And usually if you get like a mother with a kid in school, you know they're going to have a higher social life than other people. So, I know I will get way more client referrals if I take a younger family in. That sometimes I love older people and I love to hang out with my 90-something-year-old people. I love it. But you don't know if you're getting your next Christmas tip. but but it is different. So you need to know your clients to know what kind of, because they are your advertising. So what kind of, where they move is where they're gonna get your referrals from.
Right.
Kind of.
Right. Well, exactly. So, for example, if you're mobile, the same way this works is when I was at Intergroom this past year, I spoke to someone who had a whole fleet of mobiles. And it was funny, we were talking because we share some of the clients because he's in Long Island and I'm in Florida. So we have the snowbirds. And I said to him, he said, oh, the costs of operating a mobile business keep going up. And I said, how do your clients deal with when you do price raises? Because I was getting ready to do a big price raise. And he said, oh, some of them freak out. And I said, how many of your clients, I said, first I asked, what is your price point now based upon what it started at? And he said, it's about $30 higher than when he had started, the business. And I said, per service. And I said, and how many of your original clients do you have? And he said, almost none. And so that's something to think about, is the fact that when you increase prices, you may lose a few customers. And price increases are a necessary evil. You have to do them because your costs go up. Your home insurance goes up, your rent goes up, your parking goes up, your maintenance everything goes up. So you have to raise prices as well. And it's harder to raise prices sometimes with clients who you've had for a long time and they're used to a certain low price.
Yeah.
And then you try to work them up and then you get to a certain number and they freak out. It's easier to just start out with a new client at that higher number, and that's what they're accustomed to. So
yeah. And the problem is when they lose the first dog and then they get the second dog and you had to, double the rate because you forgot to raise the other one for the last 10 years and they get a new puppy. And I'm like,
yeah. But that's when I take that opportunity to say, well, since I've been doing your other dog, I've done 3 price increases, but because you were one of my originals, you were grandfathered in. I never did that for you because of your long loyalty to me. However, now I need you to pay that regular price because I have to survive. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, there's this argument all the time on the grooming groups about charge your worth. I'm not saying you have to go and gouge people. If you are a new groomer and you have 2 years of skill under your belt, I would expect you're going to charge something different than someone like me who has 35 years, 36 years of grooming under their belt. So it's like, there's the expertise is going to be different. The area is going to be different. And also the service you provide. I am one price and you get everything. I'm not an a la carte kind of groomer. There are some people who prefer to have a base price and they charge extra for dremeling, a little extra for, this, extra for that. If that's what works for you and that's how your area operates, that's how you have to operate. It's not how I do things, though.
Yeah, no, the same. And that's another difference between salons, mobile, and house calls. As closer as you get to the client, the trust factor, it becomes bigger. Because I'm like, at a salon, they drop the dog. A lot of people don't. And a lot of people are super on it. Some people just drop the dog, they want it back, and they don't really care that much. Those are the more volatile. That is, the price doesn't work, they won't care, and they trust the salon. So I find that sometimes they are easier for them to say, oh, if this is not available, I can take this one. They're a little less picky. When you go into somebody's house, it's the factor that they trust you, that you know the house, you see them on their underwear, you see them yelling at their kids, you see them. So all that is kind of a ways in that they will never get rid of you, or they will, it's a whole process. So I know that my price includes
therapy,
my silence,
therapy,
and you talk, and they know you, and but you know them, you know their house, and they don't want to go through the same training of another groomer beside their grooming skills.
And
they just
trust and the trust.
Well, everybody has to trust their groomer, but it's a different kind of trust when you're in somebody's apartment. When you walk into somebody's house with with them not even being there, when you it's a different kind of relationship.
I think for mobile vans as well, because while we have a lot of clients who aren't home when we arrive, and they give us garage codes, so we have access to their homes and things like that as well. And again, this goes back to what we talked about last week about when you're to kind of go back to the question of like, how do you set your pricing? If you're providing a premium service, so you go to their home, you use the best products, you take your time, you forge a relationship with the dog, so they're paying for this really one-on-one special experience. If they're looking for a $20 groom, they're not going to get that from a shave down, pass you out the door, quick, fast kind of a place. It's just not. And I'm not saying that there's no place for those places. There's a huge market for people who just want their dogs shaved down. They're not into the styling. But
sometimes I miss that.
Sometimes I miss that.
You always work on high-end salons.
Me, I always have.
Yes, you did. I didn't. I have worked on
not my first. No, my first. Don't forget, I started out in a small town in New Jersey.
Okay.
My first grooming job, I worked at a kennel.
Okay.
Where they did boarding.
And I'm like, as chaotic as it is, sometimes I miss being filthy of undercoat. I miss and I miss when I first started, I could just knock off a gazillion dogs, and the quality was reflected on what they're paid. And by the time I got trained, I see the pictures now, and I'm like, wow, did I did that? And I'm like, but I don't know, low prices when it comes with I wouldn't say lower expectations, but less expectations. And
I think that's a good way to say it. Lower expectations. You're still going to get a groomer who has knowledge and skill maybe, but your expectation of the outcome has to be a little more realistic.
Because time is money. So, I can lower my price, but I'm not going to have the time to finish the dog, like strain by strain. I would sit with one of my clients with the hair low, and I just can stay there forever until the hair is perfect. When you're in a rush and you need to groom, 35 dogs, you do what you're getting paid to do. And like the dog will go home clean, nails, ears, whatever. But I still see a lot of those.
When I used to do house calls and you get a new client, you walk into a house and you don't know what their setup is going to be like. You don't know what to expect. I've had people who had a 15-pound dog and they want me to bathe them in their bathroom sink that was about this big. And I'm like, no, it's not going to work, lady. I've had those situations. I would get down on my knees and like bend over the tub, their regular tub, and I'm washing dogs in the tub. I mean, I was younger, I could do it, but I mean, now at this age, I mean, I don't know how you do it because you're older than me,
Oh,
but you're very posh. I mean, your clients, you know, they do like
yeah,
whole setups in their house for you.
yeah. But I still work on tops, and you know, with some clients, I still do it, but you know, it is on another level. I'm not rushed with time anymore, and you
Right.
know, and but I do miss those days of really quick grooms. I'm like, sometimes I find, you know, we all get burned out. There are some days that I'm like, and you know, because I will be venting with you, I don't want to do this anymore. How many more scratches? How much more money I got to spend on lottery tickets to get out of my life? And so many times I have told myself that I wanted it to be a bather.
Okay.
That's usually my comfort thing. It's like, oh, if you're like tired of all this demanding people, but you still want to work with dog, I'm like, take a break and just be a bather, and I would love to do that, you know. And I miss the days of being a bather because you just like dogs, and you're just washing dogs and working on them without the pressure of the owner, because you always have the groomer to be the buffer.
So let me ask you a question. Being house calling in Manhattan, it's a little bit different than when you're in a small town, but I always, when I was house call, I received new clients strictly through word of mouth referrals from other clients. I never did any kind of advertising,
No.
anything like that. And I would never, if I got a random phone call from some rando stranger, I was super apprehensive unless they were referred by an existing client.
The problem with referred by the existing client, that the existing client might be a client for you for 16 years, for 10 years, and their price point. So sometimes I get like, oh, you know, so-and-so referred to me, and they expected me to charge whatever they charge. So that's a little bit, but I'm the same. I kind of freak out for new clients that I don't know where it come from. And to be honest, it takes me 3 grooms, 2 or I would say 3 grooms, to be honest, to get it right. You know,
Right. I think
like
that's
I
normal.
never do my best job on my first groom because you don't know the dog, you don't know the space, you don't know the water pressure, you don't know like so many details that you do on autopilot that let you really focus on what you need to focus. It takes me 3 grooms until I'm, you know, not anxious. I know the client is not going to freak out over something
And
ridiculous.
you fall into a rhythm with that
Yeah,
client.
yeah. But it takes 3 times that I say, you know what, I could, you know, that I'm aware that my grooming is not my best, that I'm working on getting to
Yeah.
know. And when you're at the salon, and I think even when you're in the mobile, you know you're in your space. It's so much
Yeah.
safer when you
Yeah.
are in a space that you know and you have all the equipment that you know. So house calls, it has a little bit of that it's always a learning curve. You're always
Absolutely.
learning. Like
Absolutely.
you're always learning because sometimes you like to scissor that way, and sometimes you have the washer machine on that side, and like
Yeah.
you know. So
I think mobile grooming in a van is closer to salon grooming because you do have a salon in the van. It's a little bit more limiting, but I think it's closer to salon
yeah,
grooming
you
than
know
house
where
call grooming.
everything is. Like, you know, you grab this, you don't have to. Like, you know, at a house, you always start from scratch on really getting your bearings. Where, you know, if you need to use a noose, you need to see, you know, you hang it from, you know, the ceiling. It's just, you know, it's a that's where I think is the 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 big challenge that I'm realizing now. That is that every client is like a whole curve for you to learn how to use tools, different lights. The lights kill me sometimes. There are clients that I cannot do. I don't know how they can cook, or they have like very low lights, and like, thank you to, you know, LED lights now.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying. You're wearing a white shirt, and all the comments are in white. So I'm trying to read them against your shirt.
Put on your glasses. Maybe you will see.
The size isn't the problem; it's the color.
And this is blue.
Is that blue?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, this is like that dress. Is it blue or gold?
It's the blue and gold. I'm gold. What? Let me try to like. Oh, oh,
Look at him adjusting his light.
oh, hold on. I'm like adjusting my chunk. Hold on. Oh. What is it?
Oh no. Woo! That's too yellow.
Okay.
Okay. Freddie, can you bring me my laptop, please?
Oh, there you go. If I say that, nobody here. Not even Alexa. She left me. Oh, you didn't go to watch the Grammys, right?
I did watch the Grammys, yeah.
Oh my God. You know, it's so crazy. You know that I forgot that like Tracy Chapman even existed?
Jorge.
I swear to God. And I used to like her. But like it never pop up on my Spotify like suggestions. I never heard. When I saw her on stage, I was like, oh my God, I forgot she existed. And I love her. And she looks exactly how I will imagine she will look. Gorgeous. So I really love. I enjoy it. Back to that.
Well.
I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you something about cleaning the tools.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm always struggling every time that I read somebody and I feel that I'm doing it wrong. What is the quick way to like sanitize your tools between dogs that is just good enough to get through the day?
I believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize how beneficial just regular 70% isopropyl alcohol is a great quick disinfectant. So I learned that because that's what we recommend for cleaning your scissors. It's totally safe to use on scissors, will not affect your titanium coating, will not dull your shears, will not take away the shine or the protective coating. I actually wrote an article for Groomer to Groomer magazine. I think it was like the beginning of 23 or the end of 2022. And it was called Using Alcohol to Get Through the Day. And it was basically about how using at least 70% alcohol and spraying it on your tools. Here's the catch. Alcohol takes longer to disinfect. So it has to make contact with the surface of what you're disinfecting for a minimum of 30 seconds. So you can't spray it with alcohol and wipe it away. That won't disinfect. So what I typically do is in between clients, we just lay the scissors and the combs and the brushes on a paper towel, like we rip some paper towel, saturate it with alcohol that we keep in a spray bottle, wet it all, and by the time you're done cleaning up, the alcohol evaporates and you can put your stuff away. The scissors and the combs, anything metal, I like to make sure that they're dry before I put them away, and alcohol evaporates rapidly. But the brushes you can put away, it'll dry by the time you get to your next client. But that's also what you can do for, in your case, is keep a little spray bottle full of.
And I'm like, then I read, and they're like, you know, you read some people that say they're not, but
I mean, it's not good. It doesn't kill everything. I mean, it's not effective against, you know, like parvovirus and things like that. But I mean, generally, you're not going to encounter that in your grooming clients. But when it comes to bacteria, yeast, things that are transferable from one dog to another, those things it absolutely will disinfect. So rubbing alcohol, at least 70% isopropyl rubbing alcohol.
And what about the blades, the clipper?
I use like Cool Lube, like the clipper side or Cool Lube or one of those.
That's too big for me to carry. That's the
it
thing.
Is, and in a van, you know, there's a you know, also here's another thing is like, you know, a lot of groomers don't realize the inhalants that we take into our lungs, and I'm more conscious of it now because one of my very good friends who you all know, Jody Murphy, she has terrible lung issues, and it's from years and years and years of working in a mobile van and breathing. Right?
I know, I remember, but I'm like,
yeah, she has really bad lung issues, but you know, it's a combination of breathing in the fumes of the bad chemicals, all the little snippets of hair. It just really exasperated. I mean, I don't know if it started as something, you know, physical with her, but it's the grooming exasperated it. And I think about that often, and I really am conscious of it. When I started doing mobile, I was dremeling nails one day, and I didn't even realize this, but I was holding a dog's paw and I was dremeling the nail, and Freddie was talking to me, and I was talking, and I went to take a breath to keep talking. I went, and I kept talking. He said, "Oh my God, all that nail just went in your lungs." And I didn't realize that as I was dremeling and talking to him, blah, 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 all the dust from the Dremel was just, I was breathing it right in. So that's something to think about when you're spraying
I was going to say a joke, but I'm not.
When you're in an enclosed area like a grooming van or even a small salon, if you don't have great ventilation and you're spraying products like clipper sprays, if you're spraying products like even perfumes in those enclosed areas, even if you're cleaning your van with disinfectants, if you use bleach, which I don't in my van, you're not supposed to use bleach on the surface of the vans, but if you use bleach products, any of those cleansers that can be very assaulting to your lungs and you're in an enclosed space, over time it's going to cause you issues. So I try to be really conscious of that. So just keep that in mind when you're using products like to disinfect. Open up your vents in your van, or open the slider door, or wait till the dog is already given back to the owner, and open everything up and let it air out for a second. Because if you want to have longevity, I mean, I've been doing this 35 years, going on 36. So, some groomers come into it, early in their career, and they do it their whole life. Some of them start grooming as a second career. But if you want to have longevity, no matter what age you are, be very conscious about the stuff you're breathing in. Be very conscious about the stuff that you're making contact with on your hands. If you're using flea and tick products, those are, even though they're safe to use on the dog in that instance, there's a reason why they tell you how long to leave it on. There's warnings about inhaling the fumes. You don't want to put that stuff on your hands. You should be wearing gloves when you put those things on the dogs. So a lot of things that groomers don't think about when it comes to...
I don't.
Well,
I cannot wear gloves or masks.
Well, I mean, I for a while was putting on a mask to Dremel, and it just got really annoying. So now, but I'm very conscious of it. Now when I Dremel, I hold it away from me. I tend to blow as I'm dremeling, so the dust blows away rather than going
through the smell of the Dremel. That's the thing.
Well, that's the smell of burning nail. So
I know,
you weirdo.
I know. It's like a comfort. Like, I kind of always like that.
When I was a kid, I used to like the smell of gasoline. So
some people do. Like, no, I don't. But you just put a white powder there, right, on it. And so so we talk about the disinfecting. I need to learn how to clean those 5-on-1 blades better. That's another thing that I could.
Well, there's also those products out there. There's the UV lights, which are great. The light boxes are a great thing. There's there's I don't know the name of the product. Maybe one of you guys can chime in. It's the blades are submerged in liquid, and they
vibrate.
It's an agitator. Yeah, it agitates them. That's another one, and that helps to blow it out. Honestly, in all the years I've been grooming, I've always sprayed it down with the cleaning spray. I've taken my little brush and brushed out all the little hairs, and that's how I've always disinfected. It's always worked. I use rubbing alcohol. I'm very conscious about cross-contamination because here in Florida, we have a lot of dogs with yeast issues. It's very, very common.
Here too.
Very, very common.
They're usually the dogs that go back and forth.
Well, and it's very easy to cross-contaminate. If you use a brush or a comb on a dog that has yeast and you don't clean it and you use it on another dog, what happens is if the brush breaks the skin, even if it doesn't bleed and you don't even know, there can be little scratches that break the skin that don't bleed. Even me, like right now, when I do this, if you looked at my skin under a microscope, I would have breaks in my skin, and that's where bacteria can get in. So if you have the bacteria on the brush or the fungus spores, which is what yeast is, and you're scraping those spores right into the bloodstream, I mean, that's going to cause cross-contamination. So that's why we are very conscious about when we have, especially when we have dogs with yeast or bacterial infections, we actually have a separate set of tools that we use and we disinfect, but we use only for dogs that tend to have skin issues, because I don't even want to chance the cross contamination. And we wash our hands in between. We use hand sanitizer. I'm very conscious of that aspect of it, just because it's such a big problem here in Florida. More than I mean, I know it's a problem everywhere, but in the north, when I worked in New York, I'd see it occasionally. A dog would get yeast infection, or like around their toes, in their, around the vulva. But here in Florida, they have it head to toe, on their body, on their ear leathers, in their ears, around the nails. The whole foot is swollen. Yeast is such a problem down here because allergies are so bad for dogs in Florida.
What is your favorite product? What do you use?
For what?
For yeast.
Ketochlor, anything with ketochlor in it. So there's a bunch of products. There's different companies that make ketochlor products, but they'll be called like Keto C is one. There used to be a really great one by Butler Veterinary, and it was called ketochlor, and it is discontinued now. I think I can't find it. I haven't been able to find it, but the local vet down here makes their own version of a ketochlor shampoo. So it's like, I think it's got a little bit of it's got chlorhexidine and keto. I don't know what the second half of the word keto is, but it's been the most effective, because the problem is that so many of the other prescribed medications, topical shampoos, have become ineffective because the yeast has been around for so long and they've encountered it. So it just seems that the ketochlor products seem to be the go-to now. I do use sometimes for mild issues, sometimes Zymox products.
But it takes a while. I like
slower.
it to keep it at bay. It's a great product.
Not a real medicine. It's just got hydrocortisone in it. It helps.
Yeah. And it's great to prevent it from happening. I just don't like their conditioner.
Ketoconazole, that's what it's called.
Oh.
The drug is called ketoconazole, and they mix it with chlorhexidine rinse, and it's called ketochlor. And it's been really super effective on dogs down here. But it's a 1-2 punch kind of treatment. You have to treat from the outside as well as from the inside. So you have to be doing the medicated baths while they are on a good course of antibiotics or antifungal medication. And you've got to continue doing it for a good couple of weeks after it appears to be gone, because sometimes it looks all healed and those nasty little yeast spores are still there. You've got to really get them. So it's, I remember, I don't know, before we wrap this up, I had a whole thing where years, my cat is going on 10 years old now, but 10 years ago when I got her, I had a horrible, horrible experience. I got this kitten, and then the day after I got her, when I took her to the vet, she was diagnosed with all these things, but one of the main things she had was ringworm. She had ringworm on her, and I had been letting her run around the living room all night long. Now, I had another cat at that time, and I had dogs, and I had a brand new litter of puppies in the other room. I was freaking out. So I did all the cat had to be confined to the bathroom and be treated for all of her issues that she had. But I found out that the only thing that kills ringworm spores is steam above 240 degrees. So there's no disinfectant that'll effectively kill ringworm spores completely, except for bleach. And you can't go and bleach everything in your house. Yeah. So what did I do? I had to go find a steamer that heats up above 240 degrees. We put this kitten in the bathroom, and for the next, 10 hours of my day, I sat there with this steamer steaming every square inch of my living room. When I tell you every square inch, the couches, the tables, the carpeting, the walls, because yeast spores can float around and get anywhere. But I did it effectively. She got cured, and none of the other pets got the ringworm.
Oh, I haven't seen a case of ringworm in years.
Now, I mean, aside from the cat, well, well, my cat also has something called FHV, which is feline herpes virus.
Oh,
and it's
she's a
apparently,
delight.
well, I mean, she gets around, but the feline herpes virus, it's in the eye, and it is a very dirty little secret of the cat show world, because when I found out about it, I was horrified and I couldn't believe it. But then when I started talking to all my cat friends, I found out that it's like, oh yeah, it's just something that we deal with. Like 85% of cats carry feline herpes virus. Do you ever see cats on the street that have that eye crust and their eyes get all goopy and crusty with like mucus? Do you ever see like
New York? We don't have cats on the street.
Okay, well, if you ever see cats that get the crusty eyes and like they call it a cold in the eye, it's feline herpes virus. If you adopt a street cat, 100% chance she's a carrier. 100% chance.
I never adopting a cat. I never touching a cat.
I have a cat. I'm not a cat groomer, though.
No, but now that I know that bitch has herpes, I'm not going back to your house.
It's in her eye. It's not contagious. So please, let's not go down this. Let's not go down this road.
The gummy has kicked in. Okay, so.
All right, so let's wrap this up with
first,
mobile grooming versus house call.
Thank you, Elizabeth, Brianna, Brittany, Liz, Rhonda, Ricardo, Amanda, John, Rhonda. Did I forget anybody? Ricardo, for saying hello.
Thank you guys so much. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments and we will absolutely reply to them and answer them. And this has been fun.
I am your nicest, the most popular of your guests.
Well, you're my second guest, but okay.
Oh, it was another one? Oh,
there was one other.
When I thought it was the first one. Okay,
you
maybe
were
I
not.
need to share. Huh?
You're number 2. Sorry.
It was. But thank you for inviting me over.
My pleasure. We'll do this again. But you guys can always find me Tuesday nights, Tuesday Talks with Jonathan David on the Kenshi Educational page. If you have topics that you'd like us to discuss or cover, I'm going to have all different people on. So just let me know what you'd like to see. Thank you, Jorge, for being here.
And I'm not orange. I'm not yellow.
He's not yellow orange. Maybe we should do a podcast. Should we do a podcast, Jorge?
I know. I want to do a podcast. But but it has to have you. I need to look at you. Plus, another little secret. You know, I know sometimes I start talking. People, they might don't know. But you are one of the greatest influencers personally in my life. Like, I have become better because of you. Because you don't stop criticizing. And so, you know, you have made my English better because, you know, there are a few people that I allow from my heart to correct me because I know they mean well. And you're one of those. Most of the time.
Well,
but, no.
But what?
Like when I'm talking, I can tell on your look when you're saying like just land the plane, articulate. I'm like, what are you trying to say? I can see it. And you don't have to say it, but believe me, I know when you're like, okay, there she goes, like going out. Somebody go get her. So I know, but you know, I appreciate it. Okay, everybody, goodbye. Love you, love all of you. Thank you again for inviting me, and I see you at some other time.
Happy grooming, everyone.
Yes, now I gotta eat.